Dare, D-A-R-E, drugs are really expensive. Right? And that you can make a lot of money drug dealing. The problem is, or growing weed and selling it. Growing weed with a medical card and selling the excess, right? Ha ha ha. Make a lot of money unless you get caught, then you go to prison. Oh, you can't put more than $10,000 at a time in a bank. What are you going to do with the money? So you've got big time growers who got millions of dollars buried in the backyard or the back 40 or whatever. How many Cadillacs can you buy? How many houses can you buy? Or SUV Lexuses or whatever it is, right? And how do you do that with no apparent job or income? And you're not filing taxes. How do you do that? How do you convert from an underground income into a taxable one? So one of the things that we notice is funny money goes funny faster. And many people in the underground economy have been driven to participate in that economy without developing any skills with money other than hustling for it and then spending it mostly to service debt. I mean, not everybody can fly to the Caymans and put their money in a Cayman Islands account because you need a passport to do that. How are you financing these trips? You can't keep spending cash. That looks funny. You get a credit card, it's based on income. How do you do that? Well, people figure out ways of doing it. I'm just using this as an example. So a budget is a transformational tool. If people are not in debt, then it's about hiding the excess wealth that they can't officially declare. That's what often happens. And in the beginning of doing this class, there were a lot of people who were in that position. Or I'm coming out of prison after being a dope dealer or a meth cook, and nobody's ever taught me how to do money. No person in recovery here and a student here now who was a bank robber. Because his family was career criminals. And he's like in his 60s. So he's out, he's clean and sober, but he never had a bank account. And he actually went to the banks that he had robbed. Hey, this is my financial aid check. This is my little job that I've got. This is my first honest paycheck. I've never had a bank account. How do I do this? Right? I mean, because usually, when you knock off a bank, tellers already know that, okay, we're only going to have so much. Anytime if you rob a bank with a gun or a note or whatever, your take is only going to be about $2,000. Which, if you have no skills with money, where is that going to go? How long will $2,000 last you? Maybe a week if you're strung out, right? So, right, you have no long-term perspective. So a budget gives you a long-term perspective. It's human brain and angel brain. It also shows you where your priorities are. What's important? So budget as cartography, budget as a map. So your income is incoming cash flow. Your savings are reserved, slow-growing investment. So these terms. So savings, a slow-growing investment. So an investment is money tasked to grow towards a purpose. Education, retirement, travel, etc. And it pays interest. That means there's a principal amount, that is the total amount, that they pay you to hold on to. Now, what you may not think, and so I'm trying to draw back the curtain so that you see what the wizard is doing. Okay? This is capitalism. That means there's a profit. Somebody making money on your money. if they're paying you, like the typical savings account is like 1 or 2%, usually 1 or 2%. Does it make sense? If they're paying you 1, then they have to be making 4, at least, right? Because the reason that, for example, you go to a restaurant, I have a joke about this because I used to love to go out to breakfast, right? Eggs are really not expensive. The actual food cost, you know, in a $10 omelet, like why is this a $10 omelet if the egg costs 25 cents? And there's 3 of them. 75 cents, dollars worth of veggies, coffee. Okay, this entire meal actually cost you, if I bought it at a store, maybe $3. So why are you charging 10? Because you're paying a cook $8 an hour. And even though it takes 10 minutes to do it, 80 cents, they got to make a profit because they got lights and gas, et cetera, right? So if a bank is paying you 1 or 2%, that means they're making at least 4 or 5. Actually 28, but you see the example, right? The analogy, right? So money has to go towards a specific purpose. Assets, things that are valuable, home or a car. Income protection, that's basically insurance to protect assets. So that if, you know, your assets get damaged or whatever, it doesn't have to come out of your income in cash flow. Insurance can take part of it. Expenditures, your outgoing cash flow. So for example, things like mortgage versus rent. Mortgage is where you own the property and you're paying back a bank. Rent is when somebody else owns the property and you're helping to pay their mortgage. Car payment, same idea. Bank loans you money unless you own the car outright, depending on how valuable it is. Insurance, so different types of insurance: home insurance, car insurance, life insurance, health insurance. Food, household supplies, that's not food, so cleaning, paper stuff, school stuff, kids stuff, pets, credit card debt, past debt. So this is an example of typical things that people have reported within their, weekly money expenditures, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, you may or may not have that, depending on what your circumstances are. There's also hidden rules behind this. So for example, when I talk about systemic discrimination based on class, i.e. classism, let's say above the line you have privilege, below the line you are targeted. Let's say above the line you're middle class. So middle class can start at about $80,000 roughly for a family. But here's the challenge. If you, so poverty line, whatever that is, so 200% of the poverty line is below this line. Also, if you can be wiped out financially by an $80,000 medical bill, you are below this line. Okay, so Mitt Romney can talk about, hey, I can fire my insurance company. Yeah, you can actually buy an insurance company or buy into an insurance company. How many of us are in that position? Not many of us. How many of us are in the position that, we could just easily, like there was this woman in Arizona that got stung by a scorpion, and the anti-venom shot cost $40,000 each. She had 2. Boom, instantly 80 grand in debt from a scorpion bite. I mean, she's alive. I mean, she's glad to be alive, right? But 80 grand? That would wipe me out. So lots of people are in that position. I mean, that's one of the whole thing about, Obamacare or whatever. Like, look, people should not be wiped out by their medical bills. That's wrong. They should have the same insurance that I have as President of the United States for free if they're a citizen. We should be able to take care of homeless vets. They serve their country, boom. If you're homeless, you should be insured. Hello. That's basically just basic Christianity. Take care of people. We're rich enough to do that. Why y'all tripping? Oh, that's socialism. No, that's Christianity, yo. What would Jesus do? How much did Jesus charge to raise Lazarus? Okay, so I'm just saying. So if you're above this line, so even if you're middle class, obviously this can apply to you too. You can fall. Right? So, and that's basically, in terms of classism. So that's what I was saying the other day about, the Dave Chappelle line. He's talking about a class of people that have $50 million as disposable income. Is a level of power that you don't necessarily think about. I'm not going to be president because I can buy the president. I can buy, who do you think is more powerful? The president of the United States has nukes, but Bill Gates writes the software for 90% of the computers on the planet. Who do you think has more power? Alright, so budget as cartography. Your map. What's your income? What's your outgo? What do you have for fun, recreation, and what I call edutainment? So as a spiritual discipline. So what if you thought of frog skins, greenbacks, as eagle feathers, like a sacred power object? A sacred gift to help you achieve your dreams. Would you, rather than a symbol of pain, a symbol of possibilities? Because one of the things that was often difficult with folks, especially with people recovering from addiction, is many of their addictive patterns happen with money, and there's a lot of pain associated with that. So budget is kind of like a month-to-month plan. Balancing your checkbook is like brushing and flossing. Do you keep a running balance? Do you run out of money before you run out of month? So budgeting is this week's mind or mood altering practice. So first, with any income that you have, pay yourself first. Save. So today's my payday. I took 10% off the top. Put it in savings. 10% of my net or 10% of your gross, whichever you want to do. I did 10% of my net. And then invest what you save. So even if that's in a slow-growing savings account, that's okay. Have saving goals. Reduce and eliminate debt. Increase your net worth with diverse investments. Avoid taxes, but pay them. Protect assets with income protection. And what will you give away? All right, so here's what the idea is. At any level of income, even if you're counting and signing, pay yourself first with any income. So one of the guidelines I use is say 10% of your gross or 10% of your net. So gross is the total amount if you have a paycheck. Net is what's left after taxes and benefits and all that other kind of stuff, if you have it. Whichever you can afford easily. 10%. Now, if you're on welfare, you can't do this. And that's a problem. So you have to put it in the coffee can, because on welfare you can't even have a savings account. That's part of structured oppression within that. I'm not encouraging you to break the law, but when I talk about a project called Mississippi Mondragon, part of what happens within classism is that people are, the structure is set up to keep people below that line and not come up. So you have to understand what the structure is that keeps you below that line and educate yourself beyond so it doesn't affect you. So I have to point out, this is African American psychology, here's how we work it. We study the structure of obstacles and barriers so that, and then train people to see the structures and obstacles and barriers till the structures and obstacles become stepping stones. And they don't affect you anymore. But you have to basically understand how the structure works. And that might mean, in the case of the project that I'll refer to a little later, where doing this is actually illegal. I'm not encouraging you to break the law, but sometimes you have to break the law to get ahead, especially if it means oppression. So the idea is pay yourself first. Before any bills, pay yourself first. And then invest what you save. Have certain saving goals. Increase your net worth with diverse investments. Now, that doesn't mean with money, even though this is money sadhana. That might mean increasing your knowledge. Getting a book that teaches you about money. There are a bunch of them out there, and one of the ones that I recommend that's on the book list is Your Money or Your Life. All right, so this is in terms of savings. It's called the Rule of 72. So the first piece about savings, all right? What you do is you divide the interest rate that they're paying you into 72. So a standard savings account pays a maximum of 3% interest, usually about 1 or 2. So you divide, say, the top into 72. 72 divided by 3 is 24. So your money, if it stays in the savings account, will take 24 years to double at 3%.
I just did this in math.
Yeah. A money market, even the most aggressive money market funds, is the rule of 72. 72 divided by 5, 14.4 years, which is a little better. Many mutual funds pay about 10%, so 7.2 years. 12%, mutual fund that pays 12%. 25%, which is extremely aggressive, 2.88. Those are extremely aggressive and also extremely risky. Okay, with the exception of the savings account, all the above investments involve the stock market. So here's the idea. You save the money until you have enough to invest part of it in a vehicle that grows it faster than a basic savings account. Or you use the basic savings account for an emergency fund. or an edutainment fund or something like that. So for example, a native who told me about how to win at slot machines. Pretend you're going to a movie. Only spend $20. The machine is designed to pay you off inside of the $20. And as soon as you make more than $20, good. And as soon as the machine starts taking your money, stop, walk away. Okay? You've already decided you're going to spend as much as you spend in the movie, so what, $10, $20, right? Popcorn and candy and drinks cost more than getting into the movie. Just decide how much you're going to be entertained by and don't go beyond that. Walk away. This takes discipline to do that. She said that's the only way you can win at an Indian casino or any casino. Don't let them take your money. The machines are designed to take your money and trick you into doing that. He said it would be better if you took that $20 that you're spending and put it in a savings account until you have enough money to buy into a money market account, until you have enough money to grow your money that way, rather than just throw it away on something that ain't going to come back. Pay cash or do without. That's another part of money sadhana. So revolving credit is credit crack. It makes you feel powerful, but you become a chronic user and strung out in debt. So the appropriate use of revolving credit in this money sadhana idea is emergencies. Groceries are not emergencies. Okay? Purchases that you must have and cannot get any other way. And one goal is with revolving credit is never buy anything you can't pay off in 6 months with equal payments or in a fixed credit arrangement that is time limited. Because otherwise what happens is they trap you where, my classic case of this, and I made this mistake, so, my mom said, oh, you want to establish credit? Buy something from Sears. Buy a lawnmower or something. Okay. A $300 lawnmower turned into a $3,500 lawnmower because I didn't pay attention to the interest rate and I was paying the minimum payments, which if I paid the minimum payments of $35, which I would think, $35 into 350 is 10 months. But no, the interest rate is hiking it up so that it costs $3,500. And of course, then there was the refrigerator. Then there was the service agreement on the refrigerator, which still hasn't broken down, but I'm still paying on. And then I was at my credit limit, and they said, oh, well, we can adjust that. I can't buy anything else. Oh, we can adjust that to a service contract for your refrigerator, which they didn't tell me. Oh, it's a penalty. Wait, it's your credit limit. I can't go above. Oh, yes, we can get that for you. They didn't tell me that. Their job was to sell me more credit. They didn't tell me that this was not financially a good idea for me and that would ruin my credit. They're making money, or the company's making money. So, $350 lawnmower becomes $3,500. Okay, so pay cash or do without. Okay, only use your credit cards for emergencies or things that you cannot pay off or cannot get in any other way. Probably about another minute. Yes, all right. We'll stay here. So midterm goes out next Thursday.